Great. All right, moving swiftly on, right? Quite a pace. Ming Wen, another senior person, right? Another expert who's co-founder, CEO of API7.ai. Now, I'll let Ming Wen introduce himself. The topic will be handling 10 billion API requests with Apache APISIX, right? So this is a topic of performance. Hi, Ming Wen. I can see you.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How are you
Okay.
today?
Yes, fine.
Good. We're looking forward to this. I can see you have a presentation, which is neatly on the screen. So without any more delay, I will leave you to introduce yourself and the topic more than I have done. So thanks very much. Enjoy yourself.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Ming Wen, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of API7.net, and I have another hat. I'm also the Apache APISIX PMC chair. And Apache APISIX is a cloud-native API gateway. So today, I'm very happy to be here in the API Day India. So I want to talk about the Apache APISIX, the technical architecture, and some user cases, especially for the high performance and low latency user case. I will introduce some user case about how to handle 10 billion API requests per day. So, yeah, it's me. I'm also the Apache Software Foundation member and the Kubernetes member. So I'm an engineer. So today's topic is more technical. So if you have some questions, feel free to contact me through the email or Twitter. Okay, first of all, I will introduce why API is so important. And today, API economy is always a big thing. For example, the digital world is connected by APIs. For example, the connection from mobile phone, from the computers and IoTs to the cloud is all done through APIs. And at the same time, the data is always transformed through the API. For developers, if you are a front-end developer or a back-end developer, all of the development around the API, we should to design the API first, then we'll write code for the API. So we have the full life cycle API management about the API schema and documentation and API test mock. So we have many open source projects around the API for life cycle management. And when you deployment the API to the product environment, you have to deal with the security issues, just like the talk before. So API security is a very important thing in the product environment. And when you have many APIs, the observability will become a important thing. You need to figure it out how many APIs are running online, and if API is become slow, you need to figure out what service behind it is have the performance issue. So API is a very big thing. But the world is changing. In the last 2 years, COVID-19 has changed the world. More than 20 of the organizations are using API in 2 years ago, but this data is 96% in the last year. For developers, API first is also changing the development. Engineers will first design the API, then they will write code to improve development efficiency. With the rapid growth of the number of APIs, the API gateways also become more and more important. API gateway will manage all of the APIs and become a mission-critical infrastructure. The API gateway is the interpoint for all traffics from the client. And if the API gateway fails, all client requests cannot be proceed, which is very serious. And yes, so we donated APIscene, which is a cloud-native API gateway 3 years ago to the Apache Software Foundation. So what's the difference between APIscene and other open source API gateways? The first and the most important, different is APIscene is a cloud-native architecture, and it's based on NGIX. So we know that NGIX is a very important infrastructure open source project. NGIX is already deal with more than 70 traffic in the world, and almost every enterprise and every developers know NGIX and using APIs, using NGIX in their product environment. But NGIX is not good enough for the cloud native architecture. For example, NGIX is not a hard. If you want to change configuration of NGIX, you have to reload the service of NGIX. So in the cloud native architecture, the upstream, the SSL cert are always changed. So you have to restart NGIX many times one day. So it's really hard to accept that. And the second is that the NGIX is not a cluster. It's not a good and cluster management. For example, if you have more than 100 NGIX servers, so you have to change the configurations one by one. So it's really hard and to management. So APIscene is try to do based on NGIX, but can do better and better than NGIX. So APIscene have many open source users in the world. For example, in China, we have iQIYI, WPS, and Weibo. All of them are the biggest, very big internet companies in China. For example, iQIYI. iQIYI is a company just like Netflix. It's the biggest online video company in China. iQIYI deployed more than 700 API gateways node. All of them are APIscene. And Weibo is just like Twitter. So it's very famous in China. Weibo will handle more than 100 billion API calls per day. So APIscene will have many famous users in China. And APIscene has also some famous global users. For example, NASA, Airbus, Europe e-Factory Platform, and Swisscom. So there are many open source users are using APIscene to deal with the traffic, not only from the client. We call that source node traffic. Source node traffic means API calls from the client, from the computer and IoT drivers. And APIscene can also handle the traffic from the east and west. East and west means the API traffic in the enterprise from the microservices. So APIscene can handle the traffic from the north, south, and east and west. Okay, so this is APIscene's technical architecture. So APIscene has two parts. The first part is the data plane. The data plane is based on NGIX. So if you already using using NGIX, so it's very easy to migrate from NGIX to APIscene. For example, just like iQIYI, they only use 2 months to do the migration work. And APISIX have many plugins can help you to deal with the rate limit, security, auth logging, and if you want to do some customer development, okay, APISIX can also let you to write the customer plugins. So in the open source project of APISIX, there have more than 80 plugins. So it's almost one of the out-of-box product. And on the right side is a control plan. In the control plan, APISIX is all of the data are stored in the etcd cluster, not the MySQL or Postgre. So it's very important for the cloud native architecture because all of the data are also stored in the etcd if you are using Kubernetes. So the data plan will send the metrics logging and tracing data to the server side. For example, we will send some tracing data to Apache Skywalking, and APISIX will send some logging to the ES and something else. So, and this architecture is also important for the developer. In API Gateway, we will not only use the exist plugins, we will always want to write some customer plugin. For example, we have a ERP system, or we have a HR system. We want to integration in the API Gateway. So we need to write some customer code. APISIX allow you to write the Lua code for the native plugin. It has the best performance and the very low latency. But at the same time, many developers want to use, for example, Java, Golang, Node, Python, such very popular program languages to write their customer plugins. It's okay. It's okay. APISIX will use the RPC calls to the other developing languages for the customer plugins. And what's more, APISIX also support you to use WebAssembly to write the plugin, which is very great and awesome, because if you are using WebAssembly to write the plugins, the performance is great, and you can use more and more programming languages to write your own customer plugin. So for developers, you can use Lua, Java, Golang, Node, Python, and WebAssembly. So it's almost cover all of the popular languages for the APISIX development. Okay, next, so I will introduce a user case. WPS. WPS is the biggest API gateway cluster users of Apache APISIX. WPS already deployed more than 6,000 CPU to run APISIX. So it's a very big cluster in the world. WPS is a online Office company, just like Microsoft Office 365. And WPS have more than 1 billion users worldwide, 10 of the billions of API calls per day. So it's very big traffic. So WPS was a traditional software company, so they will sell the license. But now WPS is a SaaS company. So the biggest challenge of WPS is online Office corporation will bring rapid growth of the API traffic. For example, the biggest QPS more than 1 million per second. So it's very big API traffic. They need to migrate from Nginx to Apache APISIX in a very short time to for the very rapid growth of their product. So WPS, the biggest benefit of APISIX is APISIX based on Nginx. So it's very easy for WPS to migrate from the Nginx to APISIX. They don't need to hiring new developers for APISIX, and they don't need to learn some new technologies for APISIX. They just from the Nginx engineers and learn maybe 1 week or 2 weeks, so they can migrate from Nginx to the Apache APISIX. And the APISIX will have a very high performance and low latency, just like Nginx. But APISIX is good, and the cluster management, and if you change any configurations of APISIX, you don't need to restart the service of APISIX. And APISIX have many other user cases, not only WPS. For example, we have user cases as iQIYI and Weibo and some fintech companies, for example, Airwallex, Amber Group. So if you are interested in the API gateway and APISIX, welcome to access URI. This is website of APISIX. You will find more user cases. So, and the end is that APISIX is an open source project. It's a top level project of Apache Software Foundation. So we are always welcome more and more developers and companies to try to use APISIX and give some feedback to the community. So APISIX growing very fast in the last 3 years is only the biggest reason is that APISIX is a community-driven open source project instead of the commercial-driven open source project. So if you are interested in API gateway, service mesh, Kubernetes ingress controller, or other API technologies, so feel free to contact the APISIX community. And the last thing, but not the least, is the roadmap of APISIX. We will release APISIX version 3 this year. So APISIX is API gateway, but it's only a start. We want APISIX to deal with more traffic. For example, we want APISIX can do the service mesh work. So the most important feature of APISIX is we will support more and more L4 and L7 protocols. For example, APISIX will support Redis and Postgre traffic. So APISIX can do more east and west traffic. We call that XRPC. And as a infrastructure software, APISIX is not a very not only have many features. APISIX have to become more and more easy to use. So we will redesign the documentation. We will redesign the APIs, and we will do some security plugins in APISIX. So, and the last thing is APISIX will connect to more open source and SaaS ecosystems. We will integrate with the cloud vendors and the open source projects. So APISIX's future is it belongs to every contributors of APISIX. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Ming Wen, this is very interesting. How did the company begin? Where did you get the idea of the product? Because I see that you're co-founder.
Okay, just like many open source startups, APISIX is a very young open source project, and the reason we launched the API7.net, the commercial company, the reason is that we want APISIX to be a global open source project, and API7.net AI will be a global commercial company. So we launched the commercial company 3 years ago, and at the same time, we decided to donate APISIX to the Apache Software Foundation.
Yeah, so I think people like to know about the history of a company, because especially if they're going to migrate from something which is fairly well known, like well, I pronounce it Nginx. I'm not sure if that's the right way, but I think it was referred to many times. So we welcome questions, right, in many formats, right, through this event or after the event. The basic thing from a developer's point of view would be: is there a sandbox, right? How do I use it? How can I trust it?
For the first question, we also open source the handbook of the commercial company, so you can visit the handbook.api7.ai to see the history of our open source project and the commercial company. And for second question is how we can trust this project. Apache APISIX is belong to the Apache Software Foundation. So the commercial company only donated this project, but all of the IPs are belong to the Apache Software Foundation. So you can use this project only. You just need to follow the Apache Software Foundation's rules. For example, you need to follow the Apache 2 license, so you can use APISIX free.
Okay, so how would people get to start on this? Would there be a sandbox environment, or more to the point, could they deploy it on their own servers, right, their own cloud services? Because you talked about future integration with cloud services. How would they get started? Is there a particular cloud service, for example?
Okay, for example, APISIX support AWS Lambda, which is a serverless function, and APISIX also support Google logging. So if you are already deployed if you already deployed APISIX in the AWS or GCP, so you can use the AWS Lambda and Google logging directly without write any code. So we will support more and more cloud vendors products more and more.
Okay, because I mean the scale of the system, tens of billions of API calls. I'm not sure what the metric was a day. I'm sure it's not like a second. Might introduce some questions on architecture. So, the fundamental here is it's an API gateway, but like Nginx, which is a reverse proxy, can it also be used for that? Are there particular use cases that you would consider it for, some that you would not consider it for? Is it good for everything? If you understand my question, what would you advise people consider it for?
For APISIX?
Yeah, APISIX. Is it for the biggest problems, or you can use it for small problems as well?
Okay, I think the most important challenge in the cloud native architecture is the hot load, because you don't want to change the configurations without reload. So I think the biggest challenge. So you will see there are many new open source projects in the CNCF. They redesign and rewrite many open source projects So I think APISIX is based on NGIX because NGIX is very powerful and it's a high performance and low latency, and every companies are using NGIX is great. But in the cloud native architecture, the NGIX not support the hard load and not support the cluster management. So we need to find another open source project to replace NGIX. So we use APISIX, but APISIX is also based on NGIX. It's very low cost to migrate from NGIX to APISIX. So if you already use the cloud native architecture, so I think APISIX is a great open source project for you.
Yeah. So thanks. So I think the message here is you need the right team members, right? It's not just developers. It's also going to be sysadmin, architects, and probably solution architects. I mean, how do you see a team forming in order to evaluate the product? Is it a developer decision, or would it be a team decision, like from product manager?
Okay. I think for many open source projects, um, the model is bottom up. So you need to let the developers love your open source project first. Then the team will have the change to use these open source projects on the product environment. So we will first let the developers love APISIX, then the APISIX have the chance to use in the team.
Yeah. So basically, business as usual. Developers get to choose a technology, right?
Yes.
Okay. Look, I think we've come to the end of this session, right? I'm just seeing, is there anything else? So yeah, so with that, I think we can conclude this session, Ming Wen. So thank you very much for your time. It sounds a very technical product, right? So the invitation is for developers to go and make them aware of this, right? And where can people contact you or find out more? I think we could do it through the chat, or how else could people? How would you like to be contacted?
Yeah, you can contact me through the email.
Email address, okay. And I think you're on LinkedIn as well. So, all
Okay,
right. Thanks, Ming Wen.
okay.
Have a good day. Okay.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye.